If this is your first time or you're coming back, welcome to another episode of First Shorts, where we sit with creatives in the entertainment industry and talk about their experience making their first short film. I'm Shaka Amari, and I'm joined by my partner,
Charles Malone.
Malone. There we go. And we're excited to chat with our next guest, who hails from the foggy streets of the Bay Area, but now calls the bright lights of LA home. Our guest today is a writer and filmmaker whose work focuses on the complex, character-driven stories that live in life's messy, moral gray areas. A 2022 Universal Writer Lab alum, of which only 6 are selected, and the mind behind the acclaimed short Kaleidoscope, which garnered recognition and was streamed on the platform Curia. He is now exploring the digital frontiers of the Unreal Engine, redefining what it means to be a storyteller in the modern age. Jorge Granera. Jorge, great to have you.
Hey, what's up, guys? How's it going?
Good, man.
What's up, man?
Yeah, I know. I'm excited to be here. It was exciting to go down memory lane a little bit, look at all these photos and things we did together. Very proud of it. Yeah.
So just for our viewers out there that are tuning in, if you wanted to just go ahead and tell us a little bit about the short that we're going to be looking at today, which is Kaleidoscope, and then just basically how this started or how you became involved in it, just so that they get to know you a little bit.
All right, cool. So Kaleidoscope is about this reluctant empath who begins to sense this growing sinister force radiating through her apartment complex. And that feeling becomes so strong and so overwhelming that she's compelled to go look for the source of it. And then that's what we find out as we watch this video.
All right, let's do we have this thing queued up?
Yeah, we do. We can dive right in if everyone's ready.
Yeah.
And here we go. You guys able to see it? Oh, sorry. I'm not sharing, am I?
Nope.
Okay. How about we start with that? Okay, give me 1 second. Let's get it queued up for you guys. But in the meantime, while I'm doing that, Jorge, what drew you to this project?
From a practical point or from like a storytelling point? Could I have like two? Story-wise, I think it was more about this idea of an empath who, there's this idea of vibes, right? We all feel vibes. And I thought, like, what would that look like on like the most extreme like spectrum? And what would that do to someone who can't turn it off? And so I wanted to tell that story. It didn't start as a thriller, which is what it became. Originally, I tried to do like a little like romantic Spike Jonze type of like story about this empath who meets this guy who's like gonna kill himself and they fall in love. I couldn't get it to work. Then I thought of it as like maybe more of like a serial killer thing where the empath is more of like an emotional vampire, which as we know comes up later on in the pilot that I eventually wrote. And I thought maybe that could be who the main character was. Still couldn't find my way in. And then I think it was like, I just started thinking about the empath and how hard that burden would be on someone, how tough it is to carry everyone else's emotional baggage. And that's kind of how this started. That's how that's how I was able to find my way in. And then it was like, how do I visually tell that? And that's where the lights became such a big thing for me. So like that's the practical side of it, that whenever I'm working on a project, I love to find some kind of challenge that makes me, want to do it. And for me, the lights were that like, how do I play with the lights? How do I have it inform so much of the story when a lot of it is not really told through dialogue? So yeah, that's how I jumped into it.
Oh yeah, let's kick this off. All right, shout out to right away,
All right.
Tiffany Daniels, who's a
Yes.
phenomenal actress.
Yeah, man. I remember this shot here was Charles, you wanted to push it forward because we were nervous that we originally started with the following scene, which is this one. And we were nervous that people would like not hang in. Because I think the original version for this scene was about 5 minutes. And it read well, but it didn't play the same way. So
Yeah.
So by starting it with that little like teaser, I think it really works.
So right here, I think this is where Shaka usually asks, when you made this, where were you in your career? Like, is this your first short? Were you in
man.
school?
So I was out of school. This is not like my first short. Like I had done stuff in film school and some stuff outside of that. But this was my first short here in LA. My first short actually like putting myself out there in terms of like the industry and trying to show what I have to offer. And so this was about 2018 that I started writing this. I had just moved to LA. I didn't really know anybody. I think I just knew my fiance and like Jenn and and just you guys mainly. And the first year here in LA was me just surviving. I was just trying to find a job, pay my bills, get my feet underneath me. By 2019, that kind of happened. and I was ready to kind of, show what I had to offer. And so originally I wrote this because I was just like, I don't know how else I'm gonna get anything if I don't just do it myself. So I wrote it with the idea of just doing it with like a buddy, maybe some like acting friends, and then hue lights and pizza for like food. That was
So
my original like.
speaking of
Yeah,
the hue
yeah.
lights, like she just like drained all the
Yes.
color out of her. I think that was like the first, well, the second use of powers and us playing with those like Titan tube lights.
Yeah, I love those hiding tube lights. Like those were so cool, man. Like, I mean, imagine I was thinking about hue lights, and I don't think I could ever go back after working with those hiding tubes.
So
Oh.
that part right there also had some special effects to it as well, correct? Besides just
Yeah,
using the practical lighting of the tube lights.
Yeah, and
like,
I think
mhm.
this one coming up right now, Jorge, you want to take us through this one?
Yeah, this is where she's feeling like all the emotions of everyone around her, trying to like just vibe off of it and relax, and try to get the bad juju off of her from like the last person that she had worked with. Of course, we're gonna find out that it does not work for her. But
And
what I love about this shop though is that like whenever I see someone's reel, whether it's like acting or like cinematography or whatever, like that shot finds its way in there, and I love it. Like it came out so much better than I could have imagined. Like the way
well, that
Martin and the crew did it.
the I'm gonna come back to the crew, but these light changes are practical, right? Like where they're doing them.
Yes, this is all
Yeah.
practical. Like, yeah, none of this here is like any kind of grading or anything.
And I've got to ask the
Well, I
question
think it's
because
a grade, but I think they were,
Oh
if
yeah,
I
yeah,
remember,
yeah.
they were actually they're like manipulating the lights in
Hmm.
real time while you were shooting, which is pretty
Yeah, it was all
funky.
timed.
and so I have to ask that first off, you directed this, correct? Well, you're also
Yeah.
the writer, but you also directed. Um, but in this particular thing, I've got to ask, because we're indie filmmakers. Did you get permits for this? Was this where'd you get this location from? Like, how did you?
So that's my apartment, my
Uh-huh.
first apartment here in LA. Shout out to Kester. And like it was, I just used what I had. I come from like this like Robert Rodriguez style, philosophy of directing, which is just use what you got, just
Mhm.
do it, and just hope that you can rock it. And that's kind of so I wrote this story on my apartment. Like there was no other place it was going to be at. So everything here was how I imagined it because I was hoping in some way we could use it. And then I think
Mm.
it
And
was
this is the whole apartment building, right? You're shooting around
there's
the
yes, and I think you and Jen worked your magic with the who was it? The prop the what are they
yeah,
called?
the building
Yeah, yeah,
manager.
the building managers, and like they were really cool about it, and we were pretty loud because it was like she's running, steady cam is going. I think we're down there hiding somewhere, looking through a little monitor that didn't work. Yeah, it was fun. It was stressful because I know
Well,
we only could use it for what 2 hours to get that.
no, we had
Or
a little longer than that.
okay.
Um, I just remember
So
helping out by putting Crafty outside of the apartment and allowing everyone in the building to get free Crafty.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, that's how he
do
kept
you,
everyone okay with it.
so we can come back to it because I know we're going to just let the short run through. But
Hmm.
I did have a question. You did mention Steadicam, and so that whole
Mhm.
section through the hallway was all Steadicam. That was.
Yeah, it was. I mean, eventually in the cut, we cut some parts out just for time's sake, and you get the point what's going on. But yes, it was all steady cam. Basically, from the time she's outside, pushes her way into the apartment complex, up the stairs, around, and then we're also timing David at the same time. David Haack, who does a great
Mhm,
job of like I always imagined him like I wanted it to be like my Jaws, like my shark. Like it's
mhm.
around, but you can't really see it, but you can feel it. And yeah, so that whole thing was timed. It was beautiful. I think we only needed to do it 3 times, and we had it. And this
Yeah.
is this is one of my favorite shots. When she pulls away her sadness and her fear.
Yeah, and what about casting this? Because I remember Tiffany was great.
Oh, dude, yeah. So I remember we did do casting. Like we went out and did some auditions. And I remember we found someone that I did like. I played it the way I had saw it in my head, which was like
Mhm.
more of like a scared, like meek person, like very like nervous because they're just overloaded with so much. And then I think we were pretty close to offering it to this person. And then like last minute, I think you guys came up and were like, hey, we could get, Tiffany in this. I think you guys were telling me she's like friends with David and she's great. And you guys showed me her reel and I was like, all right, let's go. Like we didn't have like no audition. It was just like, let's do it, dude. It was awesome. Like I remember the first day I tried to explain to her, like on the first day of shooting, what I wanted, or what I thought I wanted. And she just like politely, listened to me and was like, actually, I think I have something different. And I was like, oh, and then she broke that down for me, like what she wanted to do. And I was like, okay, let's go for it. And what she brought to it was a sense of like, she's guarded, but she's not like afraid. She's still sensitive. She has this kind of assertiveness to her, that I didn't imagine when I had written the character, but that she saw in it. And she made it better than I could have imagined. Oh, this shot too. I love this shot. And I wanted to give her a hug after this. I felt, anytime I see an actor cry, I'm just like, because I know it has to come from somewhere,
Yeah.
And we can talk about the ending too, because, there's a alternate universe ending that I wish we could have done.
Yeah. Well, Shaka's gonna
Yeah.
take this down here.
Well, actually, I did have a question before I took it down. I know we don't normally do this, but I did want to go back to something specifically since we had a little bit of time.
Yeah, of course.
I really like this shot. I'm just gonna play it from here.
Yeah.
That's a great shot in general, but the green and the red. But the way he turns around and he walks towards the camera, and then we get this back shot here. I find that really, really great. Was that an edit that you did, or?
No, that was Martin on the day. I think like 5 minutes before we were gonna shoot, he was just like, "We're gonna use that mirror," and he just did it. And I was just like, "Holy crap!" That's my closet, and it had a mirror on it on the doors, and so he just
it's like a practical, like where he like turns towards the mirror.
He
Shout
just
out
turns
to
towards the
Martin
mirror.
Baird.
Yes, yeah, dude. Like he made this what it is, really, like the way it looks and everything. Working with him was so much fun.
Was this your first time working with like a crew this size? Do you remember how big the crew was? Because I don't.
Yeah, I had to look. No, I had the number because I want to know like what I was dealing with here. The crew was like, I think the crew was about 16 and the cast was 5. So in total, we were about just like over 21 people. So yeah, that was what I was working with, which to me was big. I don't know like how other people consider, that size, but for me, like I said, I come from like more scrappy roots where it's just me, a couple of friends, we're wearing multiple hats and we're just sneaking in and trying to do what we can do. So to actually have this people, that are trained and, like dedicated to like this part of the craft was so fun. It was so cool to just see everyone put that work in.
And what was your like biggest surprise or challenge that came throughout the process, either making it or in post?
Yeah. So I don't think it's much of a challenge, but I do think it's something I struggle with, is that after this, I was like, I don't ever want to film anything at night. I was like, I don't want to do that anymore. And then and you guys have read my other stuff and it's almost always at night. I don't know what it is. And I'm just like, oh my God, we're going to have to do another night shoot.
Overnights are not fun.
They are not fun.
No.
I think that put a little bit of pressure because people are so tired. They're going against their sleep cycle, and yet everyone kicked ass. So that was kind of a challenge, but the energy there was so good. Like the vibe was great. Outside of that, I felt like the rest of the shoot went well. I think the challenge came in post. We quickly found out that we didn't shoot any B-roll. That was a problem that we ran into, where we were just like, how do I get myself out of this? And that's where B-roll is like great, and we didn't have any, so it was a lot of like just little snips here and there, until we found something that made some kind of sense. So that was a big challenge.
You're saying something about an alternate ending. Did you have a different ending initially in mind?
No, that was my ending. So I remember when I was editing this, I was like in the middle of the edit. I don't know what version we were on. And at one point, Charles was like, when I was reading the script, I thought, how cool would it be if like he grabbed her and she like sucked out his like anger and he was like comatose. And then she like, that's how the cops find him. And then like she's in her apartment and breaking stuff and ripping and letting out this rage. And I remember I was like editing and I stopped and I was like, I slowly turned to him and I was like, dude, I was like, that's so cool. I was like, why didn't you tell me that? He's like, oh, but because, I was trying to like respect you as an artist. And I was like, if you have a great idea, tell me, man, because like I want to use whatever's like the best idea. So now every time I watch the ending, I'm just kind of just like, ugh. I'm like, there's something so much better there.
She still had that mixture of fear and sadness.
Yeah. So she did great. But what it could have been, with the anger and that in the visceral feeling of it, that would have been very cool.
And what what about inspirations? One of my favorite questions, shock, I'm gonna steal your
Yeah.
question, is like, did you pull any inspirations from your favorite like films or
Yeah.
Yeah.
directors? Shaka can push me
Um,
later.
so
No,
when I was
that's good.
when I was making this, I kept using this term called like I just said low key superhero. That's what I kept
Mm,
thinking of. And you know, what that really means is just a grounded superhero kind of take. And so, you know, I looked at, you know, Split was huge for me. Split, Unbreakable. There was I think this movie called Midnight Special that I had watched a few years before that was pretty cool. Looper was another one, you know, where
mm.
it's like it's about powers, but it's not just about that and you barely see it. It's like only in a few really, you know, small moments. And then I think like and then I had like my thrillers and like Hitchcock, like for example, like Rear Window. Oh, Green Room, that horror movie. I don't know if you guys have ever seen
Ah,
it. Yeah, that one.
Oh,
Because I was thinking like contained stuff at that point. So Rear Window,
yeah.
Green Room, Don't Breathe was another one. 10
Mm.
Cloverfield Lane, that was another one too. You know, so those were
okay.
like, yeah, and those I think you can see as we move on to like the future that you guys have read. But the biggest influence was Heroes, the TV show. You know, especially season one, right? But
Hmm.
like
The best season.
yeah, the best season. I watched the whole thing. I still had fun with it, but man, that
Yeah.
first season,
So
that was
Skylar and all of that.
yes, all of that,
Oh,
like, right? Like, beautiful. Like, it was so cool. Like, you're so blessed if anyone can come up with their own styler, right? Like, just making
yeah.
your own, making the styler. That's so cool, man. You know, so yeah, man, that was it for me. Like, Heroes was huge for me when it came out because this was before the MCU kind of became a thing. And so this was as good as you were going to get when it came to superheroes. And it was dope because, they had TV budget at that time. So they had to be creative with how they use the powers. It was, trickery of the camera and it was implied and that's kind of what I wanted to do with this because like I said, I had assumed that I wasn't going to have a budget. You know, I thought I was literally my budget was going to be pizza and like in hugs basically. Like yeah, that's what I try to go with when I did it. That was my inspiration.
So I know you're like, what was the budget? And you're like, well, you guys produced this. And it was really,
Yeah,
I was
it
about
was
to ask you
really,
that,
yeah,
Charles.
no,
Do you
no,
remember?
yeah, it was beg, borrow, steal.
Hmm.
Of course, like the building, just for anyone who's watching now that's over, we're running through the apartment. We just like cut a friend deal with the building manager, which was literally not paying her, just like, hey, be quiet, like try to like keep it contained. Again, I set up Crafty in the lobby area, and people are like, "What are you guys shooting? Can we graze some snacks?" I was like, "If y'all won't complain, you can have whatever you want off
yeah,
this table."
Buy them with food.
Yeah,
yeah,
and then of course the house was our friend Independence, which shout out to Indy, who's always willing to help as another
yeah.
independent filmmaker.
Hmm.
Hopefully we'll have her on too to talk about A View. And then in terms of like crew and casts, like we did go through SAG, so those
Hmm.
overnights were tough because we are worried about like paying people overtime.
Yeah,
Same thing with crew. And that was beg borrow steal. Like the beg part, like we asked friends for like $1,000 at a time, and
yeah.
friends came through. But that's a part of it.
I know. I remember when I because like I said, I would do everything myself before. So I was like, well, how much is it going to cost? Like and I remember you guys were just like, don't worry about it. And I was like, like to the point where like I didn't even want to like I felt nervous to ask you guys. She's like, don't worry about it. Just focus on the creative part of it. And I was like,
Well,
all right.
for for
Like
for me, that came from a place as someone who also directs and having to
yeah.
wear the producer hat while trying to direct and not being able to work with the actors, your DP, because you have to put out fires. It was like allowing
Hmm.
Shaka and I to divide and conquer the producing part. Even so much so where there was a part where we had all first met Tiffany, and like, when you don't know people well, I was like, oh,
Mm.
Tiffany was kind of intimidated, and she's the sweetest person. But I
Yeah,
definitely was
she's
like,
so
oh
cool.
my God.
I
But
think I was too. I was like, oh my God. But she's so cool.
Shaka, a fellow thespian, definitely was the one who's like knows how to work with the actors as an actor,
Hmm. Yeah.
and just giving you the ability to work with Martin was the goal.
Yeah, man. I remember. I mean, I don't think if I remember right, it wasn't really that hard to convince him, right? He was just like, you told him lights, and he was like, cool, and that
Oh
was basically
yeah.
it, right? Yeah, it was just like you got to play with lights, and he's like, got
Eh,
it.
yeah,
If
he
I
was like, all
remember
right.
correctly, like we did another short, Marble, and I think we did a
Yeah.
practical lighting effect on that. And then all three of you were like in a huddle going, oh, we like practical lighting effects. And then
Oh,
it turned into part of this.
what else can we play with lights in a real
Yeah.
way where we can manipulate the light in camera and then
Mhm.
enhance afterwards?
Yeah.
And
Well,
then
yeah. No, I was gonna say the enhancing part, but go ahead. I'll let you finish your question that you're gonna ask.
well, then the next one is moving on to like, all right, post. You finished this. You
Hmm.
got, you edited this yourself, so you got to the cut you like.
Well, there was two of us. The first cut I think was it Jessica? Was that her? I think Jessica Gonzales.
Yes,
Yeah,
Yeah,
from
right.
Jessica
Yeah,
28.
Gonzalez.
yeah. Jessica
Yeah, yeah,
Gonzalez.
yeah.
She did the first cut. She did all the heavy lifting, putting all that stuff together. And then I came in, and then that's where we just started hacking away at it. Just trying to because
Nice.
it just the timing was it was rough, dude. Like we had like 5 minutes for like this like dialogue scene where I'm explaining the rules of how these powers work and all this other stuff, which doesn't even show up in the movie.
Because
We
I
just
was like, you got to kill your
yeah.
darlings.
No, yeah. And I don't mind killing my darlings. My problem was I was like, are people going to understand this? And
Yeah.
you just kept saying like, the audience is smarter than you think. And I was like, all right, man. I was like, and so I just tried to go with our gut on that one. But like,
Yeah.
um, yeah, like, so that was I remember it was kind of like we had this really long intro where like nothing really happened. And then like once we're in the apartment complex, it's like a rocket. It's just like poof, and you're done. And so
Hmm.
we had to find a way to like I think at the end of this went from a 5 minute scene to about a 2 minute scene
Yeah.
about. Yeah, we had to cut a lot to make that work.
It did function a bit like a roller coaster where it's like crank, 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 crank,
Yeah.
crank, crank. Whoa, and then it
Boom.
ends,
Yeah.
and then
Hmm.
it comes in smooth. But do you remember like
Yeah.
applying to festivals? What was that like getting into festivals or like seeing a screening for the first time or
Yeah, man.
any of that
Okay.
process?
So I think the festivals was a lot of us three together, but I think a lot of you guys really like kind of like being strategic about where we put it. I think for me, I was still like kind of in the because I know we were still editing for a while, right?
Mhm.
Even as we were like, were we doing it as we were, or did we wait until we have the final cut?
No,
Probably
I
blurs for me.
think we
So
I think we submitted a few rough like a proof in
Yeah.
like a
okay, yeah, yeah, that's right.
Yes.
That's right. So like, like I was heavy in that. So I wasn't really thinking too much on it. I just knew that I really wanted something in San Francisco. I just wanted
Mm.
something back home. And we got one. So I was like, hell yeah. I was like, all right, cool, man. I have that on my check that little thing off my wish list. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I think I would ask you guys because you guys were the ones that were like strategizing. Like, where did you know you wanted to put it? Because I think one of the best ones we got for me was Indie Popcorn. That one was so cool because it was like our people. It was like who I made this thing for until I get them to like be like, yeah, we want to like showcase this. Like that was sick.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
with that, I took the learning from my own mistakes when taking this out was thinking about, sure, I said this again, everyone thinks that they're going to get into Sundance and wants to submit to all these big festivals, but it was about taking it to, the more specific genre festivals. So like
So
you make a horror film and you like submit it to all these horror festivals, and
uh,
that was kind of the thing here. So when I saw Indie PopCon, which has continued to grow since we've been
I
there,
know. Yeah.
it was
It's
fun to be
awesome.
around a bunch of like cosplay walking through. Shock and I actually went to the
Yeah.
festival.
Yeah.
It was a legit con, and then they screened it in a like tiny like room and like put up a whole screen. And I think two people took away awards for that. Like I think Tiffany Daniels took best
I know she
superhero.
got I know she got nominated for best superhero, but I'm not sure if she won it. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
she
I
may
don't.
have.
Yeah.
I
I know
don't.
RJ won for sound, for best sound,
Oh, he did
which
win for
Yeah.
was
best sound.
awesome. Yeah, he won for best sound. But I went back to look to see if she had one, but I didn't see anything with her. So I think she didn't win it. We just got nominated for that one, which was still
Oh,
fucking
Okay.
cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
In my mind, I'm like, hell yeah, man, we just made a new superhero. So that was dope. But
Speaking of like
yeah.
making a new superhero, I will say from the PopCon thing, I thought it was really great because people were really moved by. If you remember, Charles, there were some people that were very moved by the empathetic
Yeah.
part of this and was like, "Oh,
Mhm.
this is how I feel," and I
That's
take on a
crazy.
lot of emotional things when I'm around people, and that kind of energy, and so it was very nice to see people connecting on that. But after
Yeah.
the festival run, speaking of creating a new superhero, you
Mhm.
mentioned in the intro that this was on a streaming service called Curia. Do you want to talk
Yes.
about like how what that meant for you and like how that came about?
Well, you guys are gonna tell me how it came about because you guys gave me the call. I remember I was
Yeah.
at work and you're like,
Yeah.
"We got something," and I remember like I think you guys told me during my lunch, and I was like, "Holy shit!" I was like, "What?" It felt great. It felt crazy. I was like, it just like I kept waiting for like this other shoe to drop, and it didn't.
Mhm.
It felt like it didn't for a while. Like it was just like accepted, accepted, one, one. And then we hear these people want to like like buy it and have it streaming on their service, and it was cool, man. I thought it was just a really great feeling.
Well, to speak to that, it's the same way we found funding for it or funded it is the same way this happened. It's like hitting up your extended network and
Hmm.
a part of this, and I talk about it all the time, and I'm gonna sound like a broken record, is like embarrassment is a cost of admission. And it's like you
Yeah,
make something, you make it to share, and we shared it with the right people. I think at one
yeah,
point you yourself had, Blumhouse liked it as a proof of concept. Which shout out to
so
Jorge, everyone who's watching. They were like, "Well, do you have a script for it?" And we were like, "Shit."
yeah,
And Jorge literally pumped
yeah.
out a pilot in maybe like 2 weeks,
Dude,
which
that
then
was
turned
like
into
the
a
most.
feature.
Yeah, I remember like, okay, so when I made this, it was just supposed to be like a fun thing, like a one-off. Like I was like,
Hmm.
boom, let's do it. And then the reception was like, so where do we go with this? Like, people kept asking us, so what happens next? And I was like, I don't know. Like, the guy's arrested. It's okay. It's done. But then like that people kept asking that question. I just started thinking like, well, where does she go? Like, and who is she? Because I think that's something that we don't see in the short film is like, we don't really know who she is, right? We're just in a moment with her. And
Hmm.
so I wanted to explore that more. And we were able to do that later on. But yes, that pilot, oh man, I remember being like, I was equally juiced and then like also like stressed because like I was working like full time and so on my breaks, my lunches, like coming back home, like I was just kicking it out, just writing. I had a playlist that was like with like John Wick and like some other stuff. I think like Watchmen was in there from the HBO show. So that was what Trent Reznor, I think, and Atticus Ross that made the score for that. So
Yeah.
it was a lot of that kind of music. And, I started thinking about bringing back old concepts like the emotional vampires and what would cause this person, like what could go up against this essentially, like this person that has empathy.
A cheeky play on like energy vampires, like they just literally suck
Oh,
the
totally.
energy
Yeah,
out
we
of
all
you.
know someone like that. We're just like, oh, you know, it's like, damn
Yes.
it. Yeah,
No, just
it was cool.
well, anyone who's interested, there's both, Jorge has that feature
Yeah.
to Kscope, but also something that came out of it that I really want to like pat you on the back for, and it's going to go to my next question, is if
Hmm.
you're interested in a really cool heroes like TV series, Jorge has one called Maroon Society. With
Yeah.
that,
That was fun.
what are you working on now? So you did all of this, you did Universal, the
Yeah.
Diversity Writing Lab. So
I did
what's
it for a
next for
year.
you?
Next is kind of just what I'm working on right now. So I started jumping into like Unreal Engine and seeing like what I could do with that. The metahumans, that idea of mocapping and like being able to do that with just your iPhone or just a few GoPros, like it's so damn cool. Like I think one thing that I always bumped up against is like, how do I tell these big stories that I want to tell? At my level right now, right? Where people aren't throwing, millions of dollars
Billions of
at me.
dollars at you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So like, and then I look at Unreal and I'm like, dude, the sky's the limit. A few $100s, I can buy my assets. I can, make my story. And like right now, I'm making a story about this little robot in space. It's like it's dope. I'm playing with like spaceships and stuff. And so
Nice.
like, yeah, it's pretty fun. So like, I went from knowing nothing about Unreal, like whatever. Like I was just like, okay, there's this thing called Unreal Engine that's for video games. And then I started seeing there's a whole community out there that's making these amazing movies. And then you have the shows like what? Like Love, Death, and Robots, and
Definitely.
then you have Secret Level. I think that's the other one.
Secret level.
You know, hmm so like you see what they're doing there, and I'm just like, dude, that looks so fun. And so I just started every free moment I had, I started learning it. It's dope. I can't wait to see like where I go with it. You know, um, I thought, okay, if I do another live action film, when that happens, I have to choose the one, whatever I choose. I want to like do it in previs with a virtual set, and I got that idea
Mm.
from like one of my books here, the Art of the Batman. Matt Reeves talks about how he put on the VR headset and walked into like the virtual set and framed everything, and I was like, that's cool, like that's awesome. I would love to do something like that. And so that's actually how I started with Unreal first, with this idea of prevising. Like idea now is I really want to get to the metahumans part. Like that's my
Hmm.
next step. Like I want to work with actors. I don't want to just like do it by myself. I like the camaraderie of working with the team and working with people. I think Shaka, I'm gonna hit you up because like I like to like come out, and if you want to come and mess with some mocap stuff,
I used to do stage combat. I have friends that do mocap. I can bring out my
there you
swords
go.
and we can,
All
you know,
right.
we can make
All
another
right,
Pirates
cool.
or something. Or
Uh,
Star Wars. Star Wars. We
Star
could do a
Wars.
lightsaber fight.
and then I did this out of order because this is all
Uh, right
a
on.
work in progress. So before we wrap it up, we are asking, each filmmaker, and I said this for the first one. I brought Shaka from
Mm.
Separation as my artifact,
Oh,
and
nice. Okay.
we forgot with the Smith brothers, but Did you bring anything from, or did you keep anything? Did you take anything from set? Did you hold on to, since this was your first short in LA?
Yeah. I mean, I would have loved the Titan tubes. That would have been cool to keep. Yeah. But what I ended up keeping was my binder,
Oh,
my
snap.
director binder. I don't know where everything's at. I think little by little we just started ripping pages out and throwing them as the night went on. But I still have the binder, and then like I still have the other binder for like when we had like the script supervisor. So there's a few more pages on that fly out of here. But yeah, man.
Last thing before we
Yeah.
wrap, I know you said we did this a couple of years ago. Is there any advice that, since where you are now, is there any
Okay.
advice that you would give yourself back then?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. You know, I learned a lot on this project. I have a lot of good memories. I think the best thing that I learned though was this idea of enjoying the moment and counting your wins and just riding that wave. When all this stuff started happening and we started getting recognition and Blumhouse was interested and Curia was happening and all these other things were kind of coming up. Like I remember like I wasn't taking it in. Like I kept waiting for like this other shoe to drop. And I kept waiting for like the bad thing to happen. And so everyone around me was like more excited than I was, but because I was just like, all right, but when are they gonna figure it out? And then I remember I talked to my grandma. And she was I gave her a call. And she asked me what was going on. I told her I was like I don't feel like this happiness the way that I would want to, right? Like this is what I came out here to do, and it's going great, and I don't know why I can't enjoy it. And I remember she just told me like, and I think it's because like honestly, like I've spent so much time just fighting, like just in life, just to like get to where I was at, that I was always on guard. You're always waiting for that next kind of punch to come. So you're just kind of like, like, all right. And so, telling my grandmother, she was just like, you got to just enjoy those moments. Like you got, like the bad times are always going to be there. They're always going to come. And so when the good ones do happen, you have to like allow yourself to like just be in it. And I remember the weight that I felt that lifted off my shoulders when she told me that. Like so simple, right? But like to hear it from her, I guess, yeah, man, like that was like after that, that's when like it changed for me. That's when like it started being fun. You know, to like see how people were taking it in. And so if my past self, I would say that like just enjoy the wins, like don't rob yourself of that feeling, you know.
Oh, nice, man.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Thank you, Grandma. We'll take that to
yeah,
heart.
seriously.
Hey,
Yeah, love
thank you,
you.
Grandma.
Yeah.
All right. Where can we follow you?
Well, I'm on Instagram, Granera. You can find me there.
Well, you can check out Kscope on the YouTube. And Shaka, what's you wanna break us down?
Oh, yeah, sure. You can follow us on YouTube. It's OpenQ First Shorts. You can Google that, or it's if you're looking for the actual name, it's at OQ dash First Shorts. You can follow us at OpenQ Productions on Instagram, TikTok. You can follow me personally at Chaco Omari on Instagram, and yeah, you can also find our Kaleidoscope on Vimeo as well if you search for it
Yeah,
there.
And you know the deal. We're all new to this, but like and subscribe, I guess, is the thing you
yeah,
gotta do.
Yeah,
for sure. Thank you guys.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, thank you,
Yeah,
Jorge.
yeah.
yeah, for sure. Actually, can I say something before we close off? Like, yeah, just one more thing. Like, I want to say, like, when this happened for me, like, I remember I showed this script to Charles. I just wanted someone to read it to see if it was
Mhm.
good. And when you said like, I think we can make this, you're like, I think we could do this. And I didn't believe you for the longest time. Like both of you guys, like we're working on it. We're gonna get out. Like, sure, buddy. Like I was like, all right. And then eventually, like it started getting more real and more real and more real. And like, and I felt so lucky and blessed to like work with you guys. And the thing is, like, I feel more so now because I see like what you guys have done since then and what you guys did for me and, like the experience we had. And I didn't realize exactly how lucky I was until I looked back and I was just like, damn, dude, like that was so cool. So thank you
Oh,
guys. Like, like I just have so many good memories from it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Don't respond.
yeah.
Just
I'm
end it.
simply going to
End it.
say the Kobe Bryant thing. The job's not done.
Thank you. And
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, have a good one.
Look at you, all
Yeah.
nervous.
Thanks everyone for joining
All
us.
right.
We'll see you next time.
Goodbye,
Peace.
guys.